Hello, hello, hello. Welcome to another episode of Making Shitwood Live. Today, we are talking with John Chambers with Keller Williams Realty. We're going to talk culture. We're going to talk real estate. We're going to talk accountability. And this is going to be a lot of fun because John is a lot of fun. So let's get started. So you can catch us each and every week on Fridays at 11 a.m. Central Time on Facebook, Twitter, and also YouTube. And then you can catch us on Instagram as well as LinkedIn, so you can subscribe and do all those things. And today, John, thank you so much for being here with me today.
Oh my gosh, Megan, thank you so much. It's such an honor. I remember the first time I met you, I was just blown away by your energy and your passion. And one of our proudest moments was when you came down to our new chapter and gave us that we had passed our first million in closed business. So
yes,
I still have that
thank
banner.
you for that. It's so funny when people say they remember me. It's kind of like, it's so strange because I'm just kind of being me. That's it. That's kind of it. I wish I had a better way of explaining it, that it just kind of is. It's just better when you're yourself and it works, right?
Yes, absolutely. Well, yourself is a really strong deal. And I was always fascinated because you had an engineering background and your personality did not fit with my concept of what an engineer should be like.
So I'm going to tell one story about me and then we're making the rest of this about you.
Okay.
But I got my disc profile done and the guy that I was debriefing with, this was several years ago, sat down with me and he said, he was like, I don't understand how you made it through engineering school. And I said, what's that supposed to mean? Because I'm thinking smarts. Like, what's that supposed to mean? He's like, your behavioral style is nothing like what we would expect an engineer to be. So I'm like, oh, okay. Now that makes sense. That totally
makes sense. Engineers sometimes are our most difficult real estate clients. And I think Megan would be great to work with.
So my husband and I always use that as an example in B&I because my husband is also an engineer. And everybody goes like, anybody would be a great referral. I'm like, no, let me tell you the horror stories of Sean and I picking out a house. You do not want us as a client. I promise.
Well, maybe one or the other of you, maybe the two together.
Well, that's the problem is both of us have to be majorly intertwined in the decision, which makes it even worse. Yes. Oh, I could tell story after story. But
well,
anyway.
the offer stands.
Enough about me.
The offer stands, Megan. All right.
So John, you are a real estate agent with Keller Williams in the Hoover area, or that's where your office is.
Yes.
Tell us a little bit about your business and how you got into real estate.
Well, it's just kind of one of those things, Megan. When I went to the University of Georgia, all right, and so when I was kind of entering my third year, I wasn't really sure what I wanted to do, and we had two professors that came to like a career day. One was the insurance guy, and one was the real estate guy. The insurance guy was super, super dynamic, and he had a great story about what the future looked like for insurance and how many exciting ways you could do insurance. And the real estate guy was, I don't know if he was kind of distracted or whatever, but he was less than dynamic. And so I made my decision to go into the insurance business. All right.
Oh, I thought you were going to say that's what convinced you to go into the real estate business.
No. Well,
clearly there would be no competition there.
Well, years later, that's funny because the reason. So I kind of kept that thought with me the whole time, and I really think, Megan, I was a corporate guy for 25 years before I got in the real estate business. But I think back so many times, if the real estate guy had been just a little more dynamic, then I probably would never have been an insurance guy. Okay.
Oh, interesting.
So it's funny, but so I'm sorry, our lights just timed out, but hopefully that's okay. I look better in the dark.
Yeah, you look good. You look good.
Okay. So one of the things that was really interesting is I kept this idea in my mind. The reason I wanted to be in the insurance business is I'd always pictured that I would be an independent agent in a little small town in South Georgia, probably, and dabble in politics and go to the chamber luncheons. And that was really what I wanted to be. And when I got in the insurance business, that's not the avenue that I ended up. I ended up more of a corporate setting, and I was traveling the country. So, but I did that long enough to know that that was not what I felt like my calling was, and ended up doing several other things. But the thought of the real estate business never left me. And the way I officially got into it was that we bought some properties back in the early 2000s. We were living in Atlanta. We were buying some properties down in Florida. Of course, that was kind of what was going on at that time. And I recognized that the agents that we were working with, this is going to sound terrible, but when you look at the little real estate magazines, I realized that you didn't have to be good looking, nor did you have to be very smart. Okay. And
was so those are the two things holding you back from
that
going
really
into real
spoke
estate
to me.
before?
Okay. That I thought, if I can just be average, I can be okay. All right. So that was my introduction into real estate. So now 16 years later, here I am, Megan.
That is interesting. Yeah. So you have really thought about, though, how you set yourself apart, and you focus on details. So what is the detail of how do you set yourself apart? Which I find
it's as we were talking, everybody knows a lot of realtors typically. Okay. So why would somebody choose you over somebody else? Well, so when I started my real estate career, it was in Panama City Beach, actually. Okay. We moved from Atlanta. We were ready for a change. We put our daughter in a little Christian private school in Panama City. And little did we know that was in 2006 when the world was starting to fall apart. Okay. But hey, 16 years later, here I am still. But what I decided was, because I had come out of the corporate world and because I had always been a corporate guy, that I felt like that was the style that I wanted to encompass in my real estate business. So I was the only guy showing condos up and down Panama City Beach in a starch shirt. Okay. So I just decided that was going to be my calling card. All right. So starch is my friend. All right. There's nothing like starch.
I love that, because I didn't know that. Like, I didn't know that, but I have never seen you in anything but a starch shirt. Yes.
Well, it's okay. It's a little uncomfortable when I'm on our 20 acres cutting grass. Okay. It starts to chafe you a little bit. All right. But you got to keep that image up, Megan.
Outside of that. So that is so interesting. So who are the types of clients that you really like working with?
My favorite type of client is one that recognizes the need for an expert in our business. Okay. And I use that term loosely. Okay. I'm not an expert, except that I have spent 16 years and invested 16 years in trying to learn our business. I'm really a stats guy. I really like to see trends. I really like to see historically where we've been. Starting my career in the absolute worst housing market in America, it was a great introduction. The neat thing about it was I didn't know it was going to be the worst time. All right. But somehow we figured out how to make a living. And so what I recognize in this culture that says, you can go to Home Depot and you can build a house in a weekend. There's kind of that same mentality has kind of entered the real estate business when you talk about Zillow and everybody looks online. But I think because it is such an important decision, it is the cornerstone for so many people and their wealth, that most people, I like to work with people that recognize that they need me and that they trust me and they trust my experience. And that is based on a long history of referrals and people that I have taken care of. And that's what speaks so loudly about our ability, but it's obviously what lies at the heart of B&I too.
Yeah. Well, and what I really like it, because the person who really wants to be informed is going to be the person who's going to really appreciate what you do for them.
Absolutely. And we create a relationship. It's really interesting. My wife was transferred from Panama City. She was actually a consultant for a company here in Birmingham, and that company needed some help back in 2010. And so we transferred to Birmingham to help her and help this company that she was working with. And I thought, well, I will just continue to work in Panama City and I'll just commute back and forth. But the smart guy that I am, after a couple of years of doing that, I recognized that there were houses here in Birmingham also. And so we started to make the transition and doing less down there and more up here. But one of the neatest stories of my career is one day I was showing a $600,000 condominium on Panama City Beach, spectacular views of the Gulf, white sand. I mean, it was just a spectacular fall day. But I was headed that afternoon to Birmingham. And so that very next day, I was showing a $25,000 single wide trailer in Aniana. But you know what always spoke to me is those people looking at that trailer were so much more excited because this was going to be their first home. And the people that were buying the condo, they had bought lots of properties over their life. Okay. And so I just recognized that we can't judge where somebody has been, where somebody has come from. And it's really important to feel like that you are going to take care of those clients regardless of the size of the property they're looking at.
So I have chills with what you just said because I try and live my life that way, especially how we are now, right? I think you look around and so many people mistreat people or prejudge people or any of those things. And you just never know. You just never know. That person who bought the trailer could have a wealthy uncle that you never knew. You would have never had contact with if you had treated them poorly because, well, I just sold a $6 million property.
So true, Megan. And I think that's the key to your success. And that's certainly something that I recognized in you was that you were a great leader because you cared about people regardless of what line of business we were in.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and talking about BNI, how did you tell us how you found BNI and how you got involved? It's
really funny that I could live to be this age and not really understand what BNI was. Okay. So it's a funny story, and it kind of shows you a little bit about sometimes what wins the day in successful careers. I had a mutual friend, Rob Hum, who has become my dear friend, Rob and Glenna. I had a mutual friend who was in the real estate business. She was a real estate coach, and she sent me a message that said, BNI is thinking about starting a chapter in the Greystone area, which is down 280 in Birmingham. And you would be great at this. That was her text to me. And I said, wow, thank you for thinking about me. That would be awesome. But what is BNI? I had no idea. I had never heard of it. And so
the sad fact is that still is the case in a lot of places. But anyway, go ahead.
Well, there's more people that know about it today because of your passion and what you have allowed those of us that have been involved with BNI to do, Megan. Okay. Yeah. So Dr. Meisner will always be high on my list of what great ideas. Yeah. So that's how it happened. So Rob Hum and I got together and we talked about starting a chapter, and I just said, I have no idea what this is all about. I have no idea whether it will work or not. But we just thought, well, what the heck? I'd made a commitment. Rob made a commitment to me. Let's go for it. Okay. And so 7 years later, our chapter is still thriving.
Well, and I think so I'm coming to realize BNI isn't just a thing. It's not just a thing that we do. It really is a thing people do. And then we just happen to try and bring those people together. So the idea of you would be great at this because you're probably a giver. You are a giver. You are a relationship builder. You like being good at what you do, all of those things. It is what you are. You came right into it. If we put the core values up on the screen, you'd be like, check, 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 right?
Well, yeah. Thank you. But what is so crazy about it, Megan, is, and over 7 years, I've been the president a couple of times, and I've started out as the vice president, and I've been the visitor host. I've been the education coordinator. So I've done quite a few things, but what people come to BNI for is because they think it's going to create revenue for their business. Okay. And that's natural. Okay. I've got lots of things going on in my life. Do I really need to make this commitment to BNI and the time requirement every week? And so I thought, well, okay, if it returned as well as possibly it could, then it would be a good investment. But what I didn't recognize was, and I think that's where the light comes on for so many people, is the residual effects of BNI. And that is not only what revenue it produced for our business, but how much it has made me a better realtor. because I have all of these trusted people that I use. I've used the same painter, David Hicks with CertaPro for years. Okay, the same handyman, the same mortgage person, the same home inspector, the same electrician, the same roofer. Okay, the same banker. All of that has been so important because otherwise I would never have been in a position to create those type of relationships because I see those people 52 times a year. Okay. And then outside of that, with one-to-ones and everything else, more than 52 times a year.
Mm-hmm. Well, and that is where I think you could do what we do. You could do it by yourself. You could have said to yourself, who do I need to complete a transaction for real estate and make my clients really happy? And you could have made that list. And I think that is the key. BNI makes you more efficient because you don't have to be running around keeping track of all of them. You don't have to maintain relationships with all of them because you all get in the same room and when one person presents to everybody else is hearing it too. So it just creates a major efficiency.
It really does. And the old saying about it's better to give than to receive. I never quite understood that as a young person on Christmas morning. But I have totally come to understand that with BNI. I would so much rather somebody thank me for closed business than to thank somebody else for closed business. Okay. Because I realized that I helped them with their business, and that just speaks volumes to me. And that is the beauty of that system.
Yeah, absolutely. The other thing that you were talking about was accountability and how accountability is shown up so I want you to first talk about accountability and how you use it positively in your life and your work.
Well, Megan, having been a corporate guy and then being an independent business person, I've been introduced to so many neat people over the year, and that old mantra that you are what you hang around is so true. Okay. When I made the move to Keller Williams, I thought I was really doing really well. I was with another national brand. But the leader for our office just made me realize that there were things that I could be doing better and I could be more successful. All right. So that was accountability, and she was willing to hold me accountable, and I recognized the magic of that. But I also realized that with anything that I have done well in my life, it's because of the people that I surrounded myself with. For example, I joined a gym, and then I realized after a couple of months that you have to show up for it to work. Okay. So I left that gym, but through my BNI connection, I was introduced to Iron Tribe, and I thought, that's crazy. Why would I ever do that at my age? But then some people that I knew were doing it, and I thought, well, okay, I don't want to be left out. And that accountability it led to the most successful period, and it's still going on today, the most successful period in my personal physical health. Okay. But it's the accountability that makes it work. When I see people that have grown their real estate businesses, it's because somebody's holding them accountable.
Yeah. Well, and you also said it's not just, did you show up though? You felt like, especially in the Iron Tribe example, you felt like these people are counting on me to create some levity for them at dark 30 in the morning. They were counting on you for more than just, are you going to show up and do reps?
Yes, you would show up and your friends wouldn't be there. And it was kind of depressing. It was like, gosh, can I get through this without having the ability to kind of joke and talk about what death looks like? We kind of miss that.
I have done an Iron Tribe workout, and yes,
CrossFit.
You talk about death as
if you've done CrossFit, they asked me at the gym, what was your favorite part? I said, well, that you didn't have to use the defibrillator.
I was gonna like the end would be.
Yeah, no kidding. But I recognize that everything I've ever accomplished in my life was that I made a commitment because there was somebody that was going to hold me accountable. Whether it was my faith and getting involved in my church, whether it was making a commitment to my family, making a commitment to seeing my kids play every game, or now it's grandkids playing every game. It's a commitment that you make because you want to be held accountable, because good things come out of that, even in spite of the discomfort.
Yeah, 100%. And you said a sales manager gave you a really great piece of advice. What was that advice, or what was that anecdote? I don't know if it was advice, but it was that anecdote.
I think that I've almost forgotten the conversation now, Megan.
So it was, you had mentioned, when you're reviewing your sales numbers or the activity that you've done, it's never an issue when you've done the activity.
Right.
It's only an issue when
I'm
you're
sorry.
not doing your job, right?
Yes, right. Well, we talked about the corporate days, and I was a national sales manager for a company, and we used to have call reports. We used to do, obviously I had to look over expenses and things like that. But I had a sales guy that said, if you're doing your job, then doing the work is not a big deal. Okay. If you're doing what you're supposed to do, then filling out call reports is not a big deal. Where we have trouble with that is because we don't want to be held accountable. We think we're a little bit different and we don't really need to fill out these call reports. But did you recognize that people that succeed, they succeed because they have got a plan, and they are call blocking in the morning. Okay. They are making their calls. They are doing the things that they know they need to do. And I see it in our real estate business. The very top income producers in our business are very structured from their daily activity. So
it is. So I don't love routine. I don't love routine. I'm not good at routine. But one thing that I have learned, it was in 2020, was life and success is only a routine, right? It's showing up at the gym every single day or every other day or whatever your schedule is. It is call blocking. It's doing those same things over and over and over again. And it never ends. I mean, that's what success is. It's continuing.
Yeah, I'm going to send you something, Megan, that was shared in our office earlier this week. But you drew a circle in the middle, and then you drew a bunch of circles around the big circle, okay? And it was your faith life, your physical program, your financial health, your business. Okay, there were all these things, and the question in the center of the big circle was, what is one thing you could do in each of these areas to move you along to where you would consider it to be a success? Okay, so what is one thing that I could do? All right, for my physical routine, if I just said, all right, I'm going to go to the gym 4 days a week, that is the one thing that I could do, and then I will never have to worry about being healthy again. Okay, so that's the one thing. I know it sounds simpler than it is in actuality, but it's making that commitment. Okay, what could I do in my business to achieve the level that I don't have to look back and say, what should I be doing? It's just do this one thing. Okay, we try to make it too complicated, and it's not that complicated.
Absolutely. Yeah, I know, no question. All right. So tell us a little bit more about your BNI experience and just in general, like why do you keep doing it? It's 7 years. You've been doing this 7 years.
That's really true. And one of the probably the biggest disappointments for those of us that have been involved in BNI is seeing people leave, and people leave BNI for really one of two reasons. One, they just are not willing to make the commitment. Okay. I think that's the biggest thing. The second thing is not necessarily a bad thing, but their business becomes so successful and they grow their business enough that they don't have time for it. They think they don't have time for it. Obviously, we know at BNI that no, absolutely. If that puts you on the map, then why would you get away from it? Okay. Why would you need to make time for that? All right. But we understand there's a lot of binds on people's time. But Megan, for me, I would always be involved as long as the chapter wanted me to be there. And the reason it is because of the friendships. One, because it keeps me accountable. Okay. We obviously publish the traffic lights every month, and I don't like to see myself at anything other than green. And I don't certainly like to see myself at the bottom of the green. Okay. We have people in yellow. We have people that are in red. Okay. And we want that accountability to say to them, hey, you can be there and it will impact your business positively. But you just have to draw that connection, and you have to be kind with people. Okay. You can be hard on performance, but soft on people. Okay.
Say a lot more about that, because that is so important.
Yeah, well, it is. And, my dentist, he put it probably more simply than anybody else. I was complaining one day. He was asking me, are you flossing every day? And of course I was honest. And he said, really, all you need to do is just floss the teeth you want to keep. Okay. And I thought that is so magical, because if you don't want to do these things, I say that to realtors all the time. If you don't want to do these things that require discipline, then just stay broke. Okay. It's your decision. It's not my decision. But I think as far as BNI goes, we just have to say that the process has proven itself to work time and time and time again, regardless of what industry you're in. And if you will just follow the blueprint, then you will end up with a house that you absolutely love.
Yeah, no, I think that is it. That is it. And I think one of my themes right now is, and sometimes we overcomplicate it by talking about the same thing 10 different ways. Like, no. I'm just going to start talking about everything exactly the same way. I'm going to sound super repetitive, but it's really 4 things, right? It's 4 things. It's building relationships, one-to-ones. It's communicating effectively, weekly presentations. It's passing referrals because people want to give to people who are giving.
Yes.
And then it's looking at, do I have gaps in my network that I need to fill? And if you're focused on those things, just continuing to make yourself better, you nailed it. I mean, you'll have success without question.
Well, and for the engineering types in the room, when we look at the average seat value, that's really important, okay? Because that says the average member in our chapter is earning $49,000 a year, okay? And then the next question is, do you consider yourself to be average? Are you at least average? Okay. And if you're a little bit proud of yourself, then you say, well, no, I don't consider myself to be average. So I should be making more money than that, provided that I can understand how the system works. So the numbers so speak for themselves.
Well, and I think the other thing is that and it goes back to accountability. We are one of the only might be the only organization that shows you exactly what you get from us, which can be dangerous, right? Because sometimes we're showing you you're not getting anything. Right. And then we can say, okay, well, how do we fix that? But we show you exactly what you're getting, and we want you to look at that constantly. So that
and this is not about comparing numbers, but I am almost at $500,000 in revenue on about 7 years times 600. That's $4,200 in investments and a whole bunch of coffee. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. So could I make that investment somewhere else and have that kind of return? There is nothing out there that will allow you to spend that little amount of money to produce such incredible results. Nothing.
I think, and for people who listen, who are just starting out or thinking about getting into business, this would be the foundation of my marketing. And then I can build on everything else. I can build the digital programs and all that kind of stuff when I've got more cash coming in. But yes. I think this is the foundation. And this is the foundation. It is.
And I look at the time spent as in our BNI meetings or our one-to-ones. I look at it as just an honor to be able to get up at 5:30 in the morning to get to those meetings. Okay. Because while other realtors, they are known to sleep. Brian Buffini, who's a real estate trainer, said that a real estate office at 8:30 in the morning is quieter than a monastery. Okay. That is so true. So I think, okay, at 7:30 for the last 7 years, every Wednesday morning, we have been there drinking coffee and building our trade, practicing our craft. And I think what an unbelievable investment that has proven to be.
Yeah, absolutely. So before we go, I want to thank you because you are one of few people who calls and reaches out to say thank you. So I think gratitude is, you probably don't do it, just do it with me. You probably do it with a lot of other people. But I wanted to thank you you called recently and you said, hey, thank you. And it just meant so much to me. So thank you for continuing to bring sunshine to people's worlds, recognizing them and just being, a person that people want to be around. So thank you for that.
You're sweet, Megan, and you have done so much for us, and your passion and excitement has been such a great example for our Pinnacle chapter, and so proud of our members, but proud of you guys for believing in us that we could do this. And because we truly didn't know whether we could do this or not, or whether it would work. And it's just proven to be everything and then some for what you promised us it would be.
Oh, thank you so much, John. It has been wonderful having you here today. Thank you so much. And look forward to continuing to have years and years and years of you being with us as we go.
Well, same here, Megan. Thanks for the honor. And I'm serious. I'll work with you and your husband. Okay.
You don't want to, I promise.
As dysfunctional as that might be. Okay.
I'm telling you.
I love it.
I just hope I never have to move. That's literally
no kidding.
Like, just don't make me go through it again.
Yeah, I understand. No, we don't need people like you that don't ever want to move again. Okay.
Oh, that is so funny. So funny. All right. Awesome. Well, next week we have another great guest. This is Ryan Hunt with The Body Shop. He is in basically car body repair. And so he tells a great story about how he got confused with a different body shop, but he is with collision repair. And very enlightening how he looks at his business as well. So there's going to be a ton of great information to learn from that interview as well. And as always, I hope you have an absolutely fabulous week and look forward to seeing you next week.